One question that Jess Moore did answer definitely no was he was asked if he had seen, if they knew of any weather problems during ascent, and I think the clear implication was some kind of lightning or something like that. What he said was no, there was no evidence of that whatsoever. Gene and I sat in the booth during the nighttime launch of the 8th mission and watched terrible jagged edges of lightning dance around the shuttle on the pad. Very, very frightening. That is not a good thing for the shuttle. This does not appear to have happened. There doesn't appear to have been something, but I agree with Gene totally. There's absolutely nothing that can be ruled out. And of course, Jess Moore didn't really deal with the issue of the cold and the frost. They have got to take a very, very hard look at that.
Just before I go on with both of you, as the audience knows, when we were trying to get Jess Moore the first time, the Associate Administrator of NASA who gave that briefing at Cape Canaveral, we had, as did NASA, some technical problems with our audio. What he said was, "I regret that I have to report that based on very preliminary search of the ocean where the Challenger impacted this morning, the searches have not revealed any evidence that the crew of Challenger survived." That's what he said, probably stating the obvious, as the flag flying at half-mast at Cape Canaveral suggests to us. And the ocean at that particular point is about 100 to 200 feet deep. We do not know, or at least Mr. Moore will not tell us at the moment, whether or not Challenger stayed on the surface, whether it landed in pieces, whether it went to the bottom of the ocean at that particular time.
Peter?
Yes, Lynn?
Peter, I think we really ought to point out that while what Gene said is certainly true, I think Jess Moore was being as candid as he felt he could be. I think we have to appreciate that while I am not accusing him of misspeaking, clearly he probably knows more things than he's able to tell us now because he hasn't been able to put them all together. I think that he says he hasn't been briefed about the recovery team, what they have found. Obviously, bits and pieces are leaking out all over the place, and he knows some of it, but he doesn't know it all. And I think it is extremely wise of him, as a matter of fact, not to be giving out little bits of information until they have figured out all the information. For instance, he answered one question. He said he did not know how much fuel was left in the tank. Somebody at NASA right now knows exactly how much fuel was left in that tank because it says so on a screen somewhere. Either that information has not gotten to Jess Moore, or he feels that he wants to wait until they can weave a whole story together and give us a bigger picture rather than little fragments one at a time, which I think makes a certain amount of sense, as frustrating as it is to us.
In fact, we almost know how much fuel there was in that tank, don't we? Don't those normally hold about 500,000 gallons?
That's on liftoff, and if you can do the arithmetic and you can figure out what happens after 95 seconds, then you can work it out, and we have been working on working it out ourselves. So sure, that's dealable with.
We don't know. Sorry, Gene, please.
I was just going to say, and Peter, you've had a long day already. You've been on the air all day long, as most other people have been involved with what happened today. But everybody and their brother, those of us in the press and outside of the press, are being pressed to speculate, and everyone is looking for a cause. I don't want to say a scapegoat, but a cause. What was it? An icicle? Was it a tank rupture? Did someone not do their job? Did a crane hit a tank and no one tell us about it? I think it's unfair at this point in time of all of us, in the press and out of it, to try and find or put a finger on anybody for the cause of this accident. It occurred. I think we've got to deal with it in a manner in which we can best prevent it from ever occurring again, pick up the pieces and learn something, if you will, as we hopefully do from all tragedies like this, and press on. It's not going to do any good, and Lynn and you and I have been close to this before, it's not going to do any good to try and find out who did what wrong at this point in time.
Well, I agree with that, Gene, and I think there's another point to be made, which is that Jess Moore is really the man in the hot seat right now. Not only is he still the acting associate administrator of NASA for space shuttle flights, but he, as you know, has just been appointed to head the Johnson Space Center in Houston, and he's going to hold on to both jobs for a while. There is nobody right now who is feeling the pressure more than he is, and he is the guy that is going to be responsible, and he is the one who will have to report to us when they get some information.
Well, thank you both very much, Lynn, for a very long day. You're not finished, I must tell you. And you, Gene, particularly for saying what you did just a moment ago, because I'm well aware that as the day goes on, though we tend to, we do our best to stay away from speculation, we do tend to skirt it. And it is also true that I think as a nation we want answers in something more of a hurry than they can be provided. And surely the crash of the charter jet bringing home 250 American servicemen from the Sinais a couple of months ago will remind us that the answers we seek in such a hurry are not always there. The reason for that crash of a DC-8, simple by comparison to the Space Shuttle Challenger, has still not been fully determined. Who covers space for us on a full-time